Hi, everyone. Welcome to the MiCIA CannaCast. I am Ida Pearlie, the Deputy Director, and today I have with us Trent McCurran and Dr. Rob McCurran from the WellFlower. How are you doing today?
We're doing good. Thanks for having us. Excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you for making the trek over here. You came from Lansing or Ann Arbor today?
We both come from opposite directions.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, both sides of the state covered. I came from Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a grow, processing, and retail.
Correct.
What locations are you all in?
I'll take that one. Yes. So let's start with growing. We've got a facility in Bangor, Michigan.
Okay.
Which I think most of the cannabis community knows Bangor, but if you don't, it's just about 15 minutes east of South Haven.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a co-located grow and process.
Mm-hmm.
That's your traditional grow, a single layer HPS, 4 flowering rooms, 1 bedroom. And then the processing lab is probably about, a quarter of that building. And we do pretty much everything out of there. Edibles, carts, concentrates, infused pre-rolls. Am I missing anything?
Well, I think that covers most of it. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
And then on the east side of the state in Harrison Township,
Mm-hmm.
so just northeast of Detroit, we have a double stacked LED grow.
Oh, wow.
So we kind of have, 2 different growing styles.
Okay.
I would say Harrison is really you're getting a lot more bulk out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And Bangor is a little more craft, I would call it.
What's the difference between the two?
So Harrison is double stacked LEDs. We got way more plants and you have less verticality to it. Well, you have more verticality in terms of how many plants you can fit, but the plants don't get as big. They don't get as tall. Some people argue the merits between LED and HPS too, but that's the big difference is the verticality and the lights. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So, I love hearing about all of this stuff. There's so many different ways to grow cannabis.
Yep.
Okay. Interesting.
So that's the production. And then for retail, we've got our oldest store, our longest open store is in Manistee, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So that opened Memorial Day of 2021. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And is doing well there. It's a seasonal market, but we've come to learn that. But that one's humming along. And then we've got Ypsilanti, which was our second store to open.
Mm-hmm.
That was in April of this year.
Exciting.
Yeah. And then Whitmore Lake was the most recent to open in about a month ago now.
Wow. Congratulations on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are all the stores doing? Because you're spread out, across the state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they're all, every market's very different as we're starting to understand and as we expected. So I would say they're all doing well. You always want improvement. We'd like to see, Ypsilanti probably do a little better, but it's still humming along as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whitmore Lake, a little too early to tell, but it was our best opening ever.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had about 300 people come through, which was, good for us.
That's a huge,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And that was boosted. We had John Sally there.
Oh, nice.
So I'm sure he helped with that attendance record, but
right.
Yeah, we're pleased with them so far.
Okay. Sounds like you're definitely reaching different demographics as well.
Oh yeah. Whitmore. It's been great watching Whitmore Lake. It's probably going to tie into some of the questions we talk about today, but for sure skews a little older and a lot more people coming through looking for the wellness benefits than, you might see in Manistee or Ypsilanti.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Definitely we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely learned a lot since we opened these last 2 stores because they do have very different demographics. Different products that really are leading the sales in each one. So we're really trying to tailor our approach to, each of those markets. We got into this, or I started this because I wanted to, focus on the wellness and medicinal benefits of cannabis, recognizing that adult use was really changing the landscape in that regard. And it has, and it's been a bit of a struggle getting started to kind of figure out how to access that piece of the market and find those people that really are coming in for a specific reason to use cannabis other than just the recreational or social part of it. And at Whitmore Lake in particular, we are really starting to see that. And I think just because we're gaining some scale now, we're starting to realize that mission in a way that we haven't so much up to this point. So it's exciting to see that starting to come to life.
It is. It definitely, the education I feel is starting to definitely, reach the consumer too at a higher rate. Finally.
It's sorely needed. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Because you are a physician by trade.
Yeah.
So explain your background and why did you get into medicine?
Well, we're going way back then.
Open-ended question.
I'm one of those weird people that, for whatever reason, I latched onto the idea of becoming a physician kind of early on in high school. I just, I did really well in science and those kind of classes, and it intrigued me, although I knew almost nothing about it. And then I just kind of, started going down the pathway of, getting into pre-med and in my undergraduate, and then, did pretty well with that and learned more as I went along. And, thankfully did well enough in college to get into medical school. I went to college down in Houston at Baylor College of Medicine, which is in the big Texas Medical Center. And it was worked in giant county hospitals and VA hospitals. And, just had an amazing experience there. I wanted to get into medicine because I, thought it would be a good career. And, but also over time, really, believed in the mission of medicine, of wanting to help people and improve the health of our communities. Kind of at a last minute, I decided that emergency medicine is the way I wanted to go. And some people don't know this, but physicians that work in the ER generally are trained specifically to do that. So you do a residency just for emergency medicine. And I really liked that, the pace kind of fit with, my personality, which Trent can attest to. I move quick, make decisions fast, sometimes right, sometimes not, but that's the way we function there. And I loved it because it's the one area of medicine where you still have to be, in my opinion, a really, really strong clinician. So you got to figure out quickly what's going on with that patient. You can't wait for an MRI to come back. You got to go look at that person. And when you're a really good ER doctor, you can almost walk into a room within minutes, know exactly what's going on with that person. And then you have to quickly intervene and, at times, do life-saving things. Now, there's some, and it's also, there's this perception out there that, the ER is all, gunshots and heart attacks.
Oh my goodness, no.
There's a lot of mundane stuff that comes into the ER. We do a lot of primary care. So you have to kind of be able to do everything. And unfortunately, and this kind of informs my pathway to cannabis, it also was kind of the dumping ground for everyone that has a substance abuse problem, a chronic pain problem, the mental health crisis in this country, people with PTSD and veterans, all of the people addicted to opioids. That was just kind of my life, and is for, any emergency provider.
It's
so
really,
it's
crazy that's the answer, that we'd have nothing in place really. Because that's not an emergency. I mean, it can be.
Well,
don't get me wrong, but
right.
Well, part of my path. So, well, let me just finish the story, I guess. And
sorry, I didn't.
Just to close the loop there, I came to Michigan and I went to University of Michigan and did my residency in emergency medicine. And then I joined a group of ER doctors out of Ann Arbor that was staffing hospitals all around the Midwest. A large group of ER physicians that did that. I was interested in getting into leadership, so I became a medical director of a department, and then spent a lot of my career at Henry Ford Wyandotte. I was the chairman of the department there for about 5 years. We had a residency program and a freestanding ER in Brownstown, so I really got to know the Downriver community and some parts of the state that I didn't know well. And then I moved up and became an owner partner in the group of physicians that I had joined, and became I guess my ultimate title was senior vice president, which really meant that I was managing about 15 different ERs around the Midwest as far as the East Coast.
While you lived here in Michigan?
Lived here in Michigan and was still working in ERs, but mostly was doing more management and that type of work. I also kind of ran our quality program for our group for a while and our leadership development program. So I got kind of a big, breadth of experience beyond just working in the ER, which is part of the reason I thought I might be qualified to get into cannabis. And so I did that for my career. We ended up selling that company because of all this consolidation that was happening in healthcare. And I stayed around for about 3 years after we had sold the company and decided I was ready to try something new, and had some personal experience that went along with that. And, that led me to think about cannabis. The process, not only of being in the management of this, large ER group, but also the process of building that up and then selling it, I thought were skills that might be applicable to the emerging market of cannabis. And I really wanted to, see what I could do in running a company myself. I also tell the story. Yvon Chouinard, the guy that started Patagonia, was in the press recently because he did an amazing thing of kind of, giving his company away. But he was always kind of my role model. When I thought about doing something entrepreneurial, I wanted to create a company that I could be proud of, not just about making a bunch of money and doing a quick sell, but really creating a company that people really wanted to work for,
Mhm.
that had a real culture associated with it, that gave back to the communities. And in the field of cannabis, trying to do things to help correct some of the wrongs of cannabis prohibition in communities that were affected.
Mhm.
And so those are all the reasons that I, really kind of got to where I am today.
Right.
But yeah, and I'm still a licensed physician. I'm not practicing anymore.
Mhm.
I'm not board certified in emergency medicine anymore. So I'd have to do some work to go back and do that again. But going back and working, the other thing about ER is, most people don't come to the ER during the day. So you got a lot of evenings and nights and weekends and holidays.
Yeah.
And, I kind of killed myself doing that for 20 years, and I'm ready to spend a little more time with family and doing this. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what was the deciding factor though for you to switch from pharmaceuticals to plant medicine, to cannabis?
Yeah. Well, it was a gradual process, and I was always, open to more, non-traditional Western medicine in some ways. Now, the ER is not a place where you can really,
No.
put that in place. So I wrote a lot of prescripts for, Vicodin and, painkillers and things like that, which I didn't honestly feel very good about. But when someone comes in with, horrendous back pain or a migraine or a broken leg, there's not a whole lot you can give them. And so that was one of my frustrations with Western medicine was the whole system is totally screwed up. And I was just reading an article today about the greed that is there, even in nonprofit hospital systems of, I think it was an article in the New York Times today about, companies that are supposedly nonprofit making, double, triple digit profits and putting all of their patients in, perpetual debt for coming for, real medical problems. And that stuff is just wrong. I mean, so much of our healthcare system is just nothing but any other corporate, America, where it's all motivated by greed. The whole pharmaceutical system is corrupted by greed. And not to say that there aren't really, really good and valuable things that happen in our healthcare system and elements of it that are really good. But it's absolutely true. We got a great healthcare system if you've got really good insurance and you got money. If you don't, then it's third world. And that part, became increasingly frustrating to deal with. And I also, socially, I was always a supporter of cannabis. I knew a long time ago that it wasn't harmful. Certainly not as harmful as alcohol or pain medications or a lot of other, what I call the bad drugs. And there were times when I'd have somebody that came into the ER with a cocaine overdose or something like that. I'm like, dude, or, an alcoholic, I'm like, use cannabis. It doesn't hurt you. It's much better for you. And I can't prescribe it for you in the ER or anything like that. But, if I were you, I would try to replace all that bad stuff you're doing with cannabis, and see how that works for you. So that was kind of how my attitude shifted over time. I socially, was a cannabis user. Had to hide that my whole career, which I didn't like. And that seemed kind of silly to me when we have something that clearly has been proven for, 50 plus years or thousands of years, depending on how far you want to go back, is not something that's harmful and actually can provide some benefit. So that was, I guess the professional reasons that I really thought that cannabis had, and plant medicines in general, which has, been another kind of, the broader picture of plant medicine and how that it can impact and replace some of the Western medicine, things that are limited by Western medicine. So that was really, professionally why I decided to make the pivot. And then I did have a personal story in that time period when I was a senior vice president and in the process of selling our company and working in the corporate world. I had the unfortunate experience of my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer in her mid 30s. She was a yoga teacher with no risk factors whatsoever. Unfortunately, she had a fairly advanced breast cancer, although she went through her initial treatment with flying colors. Everything was great. That takes about, a year and a half. We had to put our marriage off. We then got married. She was doing great. We adopted a baby. And 6 months later, she had a metastatic recurrence, which in the world of breast cancer is pretty much a death sentence. It's not that it's never curable, but usually once it's spread beyond the breast tissue itself or the lymphatic tissue, it's almost impossible to cure. So you really are then on a long-term chemotherapy regimen where you start with, the least harmful and the best tolerated chemotherapies. You monitor the disease progression. And when it stops working, you switch to a new agent. And of course, there's kind of a gradual accumulation of side effects and other complications that happen. And thankfully, she decided to get her medical card and started going to Home of Medicine in Ann Arbor, which was my first, real entrance into, legal and regulated cannabis in the state of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I got to know all the owners of that store and became friends with them over time. They treated her very well and helped her a lot. And of course, I sampled some of the products that she got. And I openly say that not only did the cannabis tremendously help her from a medical standpoint and the things that were most important were control of nausea, chronic pain. She had a very painful cancer that required a lot of opiate pain medications. It didn't get her off of that, but she significantly reduced her opioid use because of it, which I think is a win in and of itself.
Huge.
The prescription nausea medications all have significant side effects. Some of them cause horrendous. The most common one, Zofran, causes a lot of headaches, and she would get horrendous headaches when she was having pain or nausea crises. So giving her Zofran sometimes made things worse. So cannabis was frequently the only thing that would control her nausea and vomiting, and pain episodes, which would kind of happen in a, kind of a crisis sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes there were multiple times where I was able to fire up the volcano and give her high quality cannabis, and get enough of it in her system with that she could then take a tincture or an edible and get a larger dose into her system and get some real relief. There were long periods of time, I'd say almost the entire last year of her life, she really couldn't eat anything unless she had cannabis in her system. It was the only time she would have an appetite. There's no other medications that do that.
Right.
And so at that point, I'm like, well, this is just really messed up that this is not widely available to everyone. And we don't have physicians coming out and saying that this is a better alternative than some of the medications that we can prescribe. And if you talk to oncologists, if you talk to chronic pain doctors, that most of them know that now. That wasn't always the case. But her doctor was very open to it. I think most oncologists are now. A lot of chronic pain doctors, a lot of GI doctors that treat chronic GI issues, I think recognize that there's no harm and frequently a lot of benefit from cannabis. But of course, we also have this cannabis catch-22 that we all know about, that because it's federally illegal, there's no real legitimate research that's been done. We also have a pharmaceutical system that does not put research dollars into things they can't make money off of. So we still don't have great proof of the effectiveness of cannabis. And, that's happening over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll get there, but we don't have the really, robust Western medicine accepted, standards of research at this point still, unfortunately. But at this point, I'm like, we know it works.
Mm-hmm.
We know there's no harm. That's been proven by this experiment we've been doing in our country. And we need people to stand up and say that. And there aren't many physicians that have been willing to do it. Most of them are not willing to jeopardize their career or make a career change like I did. And I just happened to be in a position where I could do that. And I decided, after my life experience, I was kind of at the point where I don't really care if people want to judge me because I use cannabis or promote it. And we do have some stigma in our family. Our kids sometimes have friends that, their parents won't allow them to hang out with our kids because they think they're going to get contaminated.
That's disheartening to hear.
Well, that's still the world that we live in, unfortunately. But
right.
I do feel like, the culture is changing and people are starting to understand. And I feel like, if I can contribute to that piece of kind of normalizing and removing the stigma and encouraging other people to stand up and say that, you can use cannabis in front of your kids. You don't give it to them, but, we all drink wine or beer in front of our kids and we don't think that's too much of a problem.
Right.
I don't think we have to hide it anymore. It's legal. It doesn't hurt anybody. And they need to understand, because they're going to, we all know that once they hit 13, 14, they're exposed to everything in the schools and their friends. And I'd rather them know. And we've had very real conversations. I just sent a son off to college and, I'm like, don't touch these drugs ever, These things are okay. These plant medicine things, they're probably okay, but even those you got to be really careful about.
Yes, you do.
It's not that cannabis has no harmful effects.
Mm-hmm.
There are some real concerns about it, and it has to be regulated. We don't want the kids to be doing it like crazy, and or at all, really, if we can avoid it. But we all know they do. So I'd rather them be educated, just like drinking. If a kid never touches a drink till they turn 21, they might go off the deep end in some way.
Exactly.
I'd rather them be properly educated and and understand what responsible use is is all about.
Yeah. And have a safe environment, to where they can come and ask those questions and not feel like they're going to be, ostracized or, or bad, for saying, hey, I'm curious.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Rob, for everything that you've done for helping the community, and not only, in the medical side, but in the cannabis as well, and sharing your story. That's really powerful.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's taken me time to kind of feel comfortable, fully sharing that, but I do, it just makes me uncomfortable personally having my my face out there very much. But hey, I'm the CEO and founder of this company, and it's honestly part of the story, and I've really checked myself to make sure that I'm in no way using the story to promote our business or our company, and it doesn't feel like that's the case. And
no, I mean, if anything, you gave your wife a quality of life, and you're helping other patients and customers, the consumers. It doesn't matter if it's rec or medicine, it's still medicinal. It still has a purpose.
Well, and I have the great fortune now that we are, a pretty good sizable company, and I've done a lot of the bud tender education at our retail stores. I always share my story, and I'm amazed every time I do that at how many of all the people that work in this industry, most of them have a personal story as well, either their own individual condition or someone they know that really opened their eyes in the same way that mine were as to what cannabis can really do for people. So, so that part is I'm really happy about, because, being open with my story has helped open those doors and channels of really, really seeing the impact that, legal cannabis has had for a lot of people. And unfortunately, there's still states in this country where they'll throw you in prison if you smoke a joint,
I know, it's ridiculous.
And that's got to change,
Yeah, well, you're on the forefront fighting the good fight, and breaking down those stigmas.
We're trying, yeah.
Trent, what exactly is your background? Because you what did you do? And then you made the transition into cannabis as well.
Because mine's not as PhD in nursing, and taught nursing, and was the dean of GVSU nursing school, and now she's at University of Michigan Flint, the dean there. So I just say that because it was actually my intention to go into medicine at one point too. But when I came out of college, I was like, I don't want to be in school that long. So I came out of college and actually went into business. I majored in business in college. But when I went back to get my MBA, it was my intent. I was like, I'm either going to do something altruistic or I'm going to do something fun. One of the two. Okay. Well, I ended up going for something fun.
Right. You only live once.
Well, right. It's a little altruistic these days, it seems like.
Well, right. Well, it all came back because I almost was going to get my master's in public health at the same time as my MBA.
Ooh.
And that's why I went to University of North Carolina, because they have a good school in both. I actually got into the NPH school and was about to start taking classes, and I realized how dysfunctional the school was and everything. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. So I ended up just my MBA, but I've kind of bounced around out of grad school. I went to Johnson & Johnson and worked in their consumer products division, doing brand management. And I knew then I wanted to go small. I wanted to get smaller. I didn't want to be in Fortune 500 anymore, because I wanted to eventually get to the path of entrepreneurship. And so I went to a small family-owned wine and spirits business based out of New York.
Okay.
And they were family-owned, but they're big. I mean, they're like $450, $500 million in revenue. And I was on Yellowtail Wine. That was my brand. So
I know that brand.
Everybody knows that brand. And I really enjoyed it, really enjoyed my leadership there. Actually, it's where I kind of started to understand what does good culture look like, what does good values look like, what does good leadership look like. And then this opportunity kind of fell in my lap to be the VP of marketing at Founders, because my parents had moved to Grand Rapids in 2008.
Wow.
So I threw my hat in the ring on a whim. And I actually interviewed in the tap room on Christmas Eve.
Did you really?
Yeah. And went to Christmas service a little tipsy after drinking a few breakfast stouts.
Right.
And I moved to Michigan from New York about 4 to 6 weeks after that. Yeah, 6 weeks after that interview.
Wow. Okay.
To start my job there. And so I was there for 4 years, and then I knew cannabis was starting to encroach on alcohol. Rob was doing his thing, looking to maybe start this up. And I'd always wanted to kind of start my own company. And so I felt like this was the best time to make the leap and take the risk. And it comes back to, wow, this is something now where I can actually be altruistic and have fun at the same time, because cannabis is one of the rare things that does both.
Right.
So you really can't make that argument with, alcohol bev that I was in before, right? But I can make that credible claim now. And I was very in tune with the wellness aspect. That's what, inspired me. And I thought could make our business and make cannabis a differentiated piece of the economy. So that's why I made the leap.
Nice. Okay. Do you have a personal story as well?
Not a personal one like Rob's of the cannabis. I was always an advocate for it. I was not in favor of prohibition. I was a casual user. I joke that I would have used it more if it was more easily accessible. I'm too lazy, too lazy to find my own plug. So I just used it, when I'd go to Colorado for beer conferences or whatever.
Right,
and Vegas, I would always pick some up there. But it wasn't really until, it got legalized here that I could just go down the street and get it, that I was like, okay, I'm all in.
Right.
And now it's really, curbed my alcohol usage a ton, which is good. And the other thing.
Isn't that funny how it does that?
Oh yeah. Well, it just puts me to sleep. That's the other thing. It eventually puts me to sleep because I'm so high strong anyway that
right.
It just puts me to sleep. But I also joke that I didn't need cannabis until I was in cannabis.
So true.
Right.
That is.
So it's how I de-stress and it's how I sleep now.
Right.
For the most part.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm all across the board, and I didn't think I'd be taking hitting concentrates until my staff made it. they love.
And now you're talking
I
about
knew
it.
he was all in. I think when we shared a whole joint or something like that. I'm like, hey, you took more than one hit, we were coming regular.
Yeah.
All right. I
Staff
like
loves to get me to dab because I look like an ass.
Well, as long as you're having fun. So how did you come up with the name WellFlower?
That's all this guy, yeah.
Well, it was, we try to be very intentional with everything we do in terms of, what is the true meaning behind, what we're trying to create.
Right.
And with the WellFlower, we wanted to be a place where it was a place of wellness. And so you just start brainstorming. And of course, it just kind of popped in my head one day of WellFlower. And luckily it was available. The URL existed. There was no trademark. The social handles were there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is just
meant to be.
Yeah, this is meant to be. Yeah. So it was really just trying to capture the wellness aspect along with, flower being everybody's reference to weed. So
Right. Yeah. That's how hey, what flowers you got today?
Right.
Yeah. And it took us a while to get there. We went through several different iterations, and we're trying to decide what we're going to be brand names versus the retail name, and the whole thing about not wanting your brands to be the same as your retail store.
Right.
But once Trent came up with that, I'm like, that's it. It's exactly the feel and mission that goes with what we're trying to do. And again, that's what what we say a lot, that we really want to be. We're not trying to beat out every store and every market. There's a lot of people that are kind of racing to the bottom right now. What we want to do is be the number one choice in every community where we have retail or have our products. The number one choice for people that are using cannabis for true wellness or medicinal reasons. There's a few other shops that are doing that, but most of them now are just trying to move volume, and it's all about the retail experience. And so we're trying to bring back a little bit of that caregiver feel, we're not going to go back to, consultation rooms and long visits with a bud tender one-on-one, but there's I think a balance there that we can capture, that, we can still, run a successful retail operation, but be able to answer a lot more questions for people and provide a better selection of wellness and medicinal products. I tell people that when my wife was sick, and we went to Oma Medicine, I think there were 20 different variations of caps, 20 to 25 different capsules, RSO capsules, 1-to-1, 5s, 10s, 25s, 50 milligram capsules, some that were called sativa, some that were called indica. But for true medical patients, that's the kind of stuff you want.
Exactly.
And how many capsules or pills do you find, in a dispensary now? Maybe one.
Yeah.
And so we need to get that pendulum swung back, so that those options are really there for people. And that, because there's a large base of people that are really, really looking to use cannabis for a real purpose. So many people come in like, I need some for sleep. I can't sleep. I can't sleep worth a shit anymore. So I really need cannabis for sleep.
Right.
Chronic pain. I mean, how many people over the age of 40, 50 have some sort of chronic pain?
Oh my goodness, all of
And
us.
there is no safe option to treat chronic pain
Right.
with pharmaceuticals. There just isn't. And if you do get on that stuff, you're probably going to have some serious long-term problems. And that's just such a sad story. And it doesn't work. That's the other thing.
You're right.
You can get on opiates, and research is very clear. Over time, it doesn't work. In fact, then you actually have a worse problem because you can't ever get off of them. You've got all the side effects that go with them. So encouraging people from early on, before their pain becomes, a monster to control, to figure out how to use cannabis to kind of balance that and live with it, essentially. Live with pain, because that's really what it comes down to. There's nothing that makes it go away. So you're learning how to have a lifestyle, and hopefully that includes not just, taking something for it, but modifying your lifestyle, moving your body in a way that's healthy, bringing in other wellness activities that we know are good for you, besides taking pills. But, in our country, people like to take pills. Well, we got to change that.
we live in a fast-paced, society where it's like, I want it now, give it to me. And it's dude, calm down. Just because it's at our fingertips doesn't mean that we need it right now. Yeah. So what products did you bring for us today?
Well, we brought a selection, and I'll let Trent go over them. But I will say that, we are still in our infancy of developing our products. And, we unfortunately, haven't really been able to realize the original mission of creating a bunch of really cool wellness and medicinal products. So we have not, we don't have 10 capsules that we put out yet. They're all in the R&D pipeline in some form or fashion, but the reality is that to survive in this business today, and particularly with our, our model, which is being vertically integrated, trying to sell as much as we can of our own products through our own stores, as well as creating a wholesale presence with our brands, which we think are quite good. But we felt to start with, we really had to kind of meet the market where it was with, the more popular items, with some, variations on that. But Trent did an amazing job of putting our brands together, and our initial product offerings that we have here are being well received in the market. And we feel like we're getting a really good start with those things, and we're supplementing with other brands and companies that we like. We try to really work with MiCIA companies and groups. We really like to, we also are, although neither one of us was a caregiver, we've got a lot of caregivers in our organization, and we definitely believe in and support the historic, work that was done by the caregiver people, and the people that really, put their necks out, some with great consequence, to carve the path for us to be able to be in this business. So we do try to, as much as we can, support and help the legacy caregiver people that have, been able to get into the commercial world. It's not to mean that we don't work with any of the larger corporate groups, but we try to be selective as much as we reasonably can and where we're at. And so anyway, I'll let Trent talk a little bit more about what we got here.
You were looking at some of these. So this is All Good Cannabis Co., which is our edible brand.
So how did you come up with the name All Good? It's so catchy.
Yeah, well, that
short and sweet.
Yeah, that was that brand was all about celebrating the creative expression through confections. It's kind of like
I love that.
The basis there. Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously, All Good works with something you're eating anyway, but it kind of was the best thing that expressed this appreciation of creativity. And then I also kind of say the way the brand design comes out is more of it's capturing the counterculture of the 70s,
right,
but in the modern day.
Right.
That's where the kind of peace sign. If you notice, there's a little VW van on the.
I saw that. Yeah, that's so cute.
And this
we
is
find ourselves all saying, all the time, every day, it's all good. It fits with the business.
You're right. Yeah.
It also fits with the thing that we've always said, or I've always said, is that there isn't much that cannabis doesn't make a little bit better. I mean, food tastes better. The colors are prettier. There's a lot of things that are all good when you use cannabis. So I love it from that standpoint too.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, capitalizing on what's already working.
Right. Yeah. It's supposed to just be a fun brand. So that's the way it came out. And then you have Scout, which is Scout Cannabis Co., which is our flower pre-rolls, infused pre-rolls, carts, and concentrate brand.
Oh, fun.
Yep. And this one was founded on the idea that we want to celebrate the natural expression of the plant. And so that's why we made it the flower and pre-roll brand, et cetera. But that means that, for carts, for example, we use 100% cannabis derived terps. And then we also focus on strains instead of, like strawberry, cart, or whatever, fruit punch, bubblegum.
Right.
We try to keep it as close to the natural plant as possible. So this is a distillate cart, but it has the 100% cannabis derived terps.
Wow, that's exciting. It's so interesting what you can do with distillate now. Or that's not distillate.
This is distillate.
That's distillate.
This
Yeah.
is distillate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But of course, we have live resin as well. And that's,
Mhm.
that's where the market's going for obvious reasons, because it's closer to what the real plant is.
Right.
Right. I'd love to get solventless going. That's the next step.
The
And we
next
all know
step.
how tasty solventless is.
Mhm. Well, one step at a time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, we already have our plates full doing what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
it is the wild, wild west out here. And
Yeah.
you guys still, I mean, yes, the path has been carved, but you're still in the thick of it, trying
Right.
to regulatory issues and
Yeah.
rules and all that fun stuff.
When we
The other
learned
thing
it,
I
yeah.
love about Scout is that I'm just passionate about the outdoors, and I think Trent is to some degree as well. Maybe not quite as crazy as I am, but I'm like one of these people that likes to mountain bike and fly fish and ski and mountain climb back in the day when I had time to do stuff like that. But I just love that Scout kind of fits with the the outdoor experience of using cannabis, and just coincidentally, all those outdoor activities I love to do go great with cannabis.
Exactly, they do.
It makes it all good. It makes it all better. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those activities in the outdoors that just fit really well with cannabis for people that like to do it. And so I just
These
love the feel
slip
of that.
really well into your pocket.
Yeah.
The
No,
pre-rolls.
And that's an infused pre-roll.
Oh, this is infused. Oh,
Yeah.
when'd you guys start doing infused?
Yeah. And ours are really good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, ours are actually, it's a half gram of concentrate and a
Mhm.
full gram of flour.
Oh, wow.
It's homogenized throughout the roll. So
Okay.
it burns smooth and consistent. Yeah, they're a company favorite. I think if you asked everybody in the company, I'm pretty sure that would come out on top.
Yeah.
We think we have one of the better ones on the market. And, a lot of them just have a lot of trouble with the way that they burn. And,
Mhm.
and if someone's buying a $20 to $25 joint, they're not going to be happy if it doesn't burn well.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
and we have a hemp cone that we use for that. It burns really well. It doesn't canoe, and our homogenation process, which is a little bit unique compared to how other people are doing it, leads to a really good product. So
Oh, this is really pretty.
yeah,
I like
It is
that.
really good.
and they smell really good too.
It does smell good.
And
Smells
is that
pretty.
the one that has blueberry muffin? I will mention
Yes.
I think you mentioned like maybe what is our best strains, and
Yeah,
we
blueberry.
have kind of emerged with blueberry muffin being one of our premier strains. It's just got this unique terp profile. It's not a super high THC, which we're okay with, but it smokes great. It's very smooth. And as soon as you walk into a building or a room where we have that growing, it's blueberry muffin. I mean, it has the exact smell, and it's just a little bit different than anything else on the market right now. So we're leaning heavy into our blueberry muffin, and I think you're going to see more of our products that have that part of it.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
Yeah. And then Mandarin cookie.
Yep.
Nice.
And then this is actually, this was a fun project we did. This is one of our concentrates.
Oh.
And we did this with Tom and Krista at Real Leaf.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's their material. This was Dr. Deskunk.
Okay. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
which is a naturally occurring 1-to-1 flower. So it's usually about 9 to 9 THC to CBD.
Oh, is it really?
Yep.
Okay.
9% and 9%. And so when we extracted it, it came out with about 33% to 33%. So it's really unique to find a 1-to-1
Wow.
concentrate with THC CBD. And we find a lot of people that use this for pain, particularly fibromyalgia. Is one I
Interesting.
hear a lot of indications. Yep.
Okay.
And back pain. Is another big one I hear people using that. We have people that like come back and buy cases of this or as much as they can.
Wow. Yeah, I love how we're starting to figure out what strains will help address certain, pain issues. And that's incredible.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
concentrate that old people like us can actually tolerate.
Yeah. I use lotion every day. So
There you go. Yeah.
How did you come up with your logo? Because this is so cool. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just simple.
This logo right here is actually a riff on the logo for mindfulness, or the icon for mindfulness,
Okay.
which is
okay.
2 drops of water on posing, one coming up, one coming down, and
Mhm.
that's the symbol for mindfulness. We kind of did a riff on that, given our focus on wellness.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
Because wellness, can have, depending on what source you read, it's anywhere from 4 to 9 dimensions:
Exactly.
occupational, emotional, physical, etc.
Wow, you're really a deep thinker.
He knows how to get into brand and brand design and
Yeah, no.
concepts for sure. So
That's really cool. So what, Dr. Rob, what did it feel like for you when the MiCIA, when Robin was able to get the governor to make cannabis essential for Michigan?
oh my gosh. Well, I was first of all pleased because that was a very scary time for all of us. We were in our infancy. We had, multiple projects that were in the pipeline and under construction. So, I mean, there was a real concern about how that was going to impact us all. And I don't know if we'd be here today if it had not been deemed essential. So that was an amazing accomplishment. And, I mean, I was shocked, to be honest. I didn't expect it at all.
Right.
But it I think, shows the power of MiCIA and the relationships you all have created that was, that it happened quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes perfect sense in that, a lot of people would have been cut off from their medicine that they really needed.
Exactly.
And we would have just fueled the black market even more.
Mm-hmm.
And,
well, and all those patients would have come rushing back into the ERs.
that's right.
So
Yeah.
even though you were already inundated because of COVID, you'd have that many more patients coming in for
That's right.
pain pills.
Yeah. So thankfully that, it helped us to get through that period for sure. And, we greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Why was it important for you to become a member of MiCIA?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, first of all, my experience in the medical world, I was involved. Actually, I was on a board for one of our trade associations for emergency medicine, which I had a great experience with, and it really opened my eyes as to the importance of groups like MiCIA and advancing the cause of the businesses that are part of that world. And so I just knew from that experience that I needed to align, and this was the only trade association that was anywhere close to, and it really fit exactly with once we started talking to Robin and you and learned what it was about, and went to our first conference up at Shanty Creek and had an amazing time, and had the amazing experience, which I honestly didn't expect, of having Brisboe and lawyers and state representatives that are up there. And we're openly consuming cannabis when they're talking. So it was a much more fun trade association that I'd ever been associated with. And, again, was like, removing the stigma that business can be conducted and good things can happen, even if people are using cannabis. It just helped. It felt like it was a really strong and immediately, recognized what a strong organization it was and what a great foundation you had already started. And that, we needed, if we wanted to be part of this, industry, this market long term, particularly being a smaller operator, and that, we knew we were going to be on smaller. I mean, some people thought like, you're crazy, you're doing so much going vertically integrated. We're like, I'm really scared to do anything less than that. In fact, I'm not sure we're big enough, to be able to compete against the big guys. And that's a real concern right now. But I do believe that MiCIA, supports cannabis businesses of all sizes and does that in a really balanced and professional way that provides benefit to everyone that's a member of this organization. But I do feel like, as opposed to the other trade association, I won't say the name, that groups like us are much more represented. And you all also just provide a great service as well. I mean, there's been so many times where we've had questions or issues and honestly didn't know where else to turn, that I reached out to you and Robin and your resources and have gotten great help. So it's great to support the organization, but I feel like we've gotten as much as we've given for sure.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you both being members and everything that you're doing as well. And you're right. We all do have to come together to make cannabis succeed. Yes. And we get to work with our friends.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, I think the members here, I feel like we're all pretty invested in growing the cannabis community and the market in healthy ways.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so I appreciate that about a lot of the other members. A lot of the other members, we've met them at the events, and it just feels like there's a value alignment.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Feels like family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for coming in. And you know what? What's in the works for you guys? Like, WellFlower, what's coming next? You've got so much going on.
Oh, well.
I know we were talking about community support coming up too.
Yeah, we were talking about so in every location we try to partner with, a nonprofit or a charitable organization. So in Ypsilanti, it's We the People Opportunity Farm, who has been a great organization to work with, who those bring formerly incarcerated people back into society and help give them life skills where they work on the urban farm.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yep.
Okay.
And then they provide food to the community too, to kind of solve the urban food desert problem.
Mm-hmm.
And Whitmore, we're working on one with, what's the name of that organization? You remember?
It's a community health organization.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on it now myself.
But that one it's focusing on health outcomes in Washtenaw County.
That's right.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
And then in Manistee, it's the Lions Club.
Yeah, they're doing some great work up there.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening there. And I think right now, the name of the game for us is we're kind of like, let's focus on what we got and optimizing what we got right now.
Mhm.
Particularly as, we're all kind of trying to brace for what's coming in the next
Right.
6 to 12 months or
Right.
and batten down the hatches, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Well, you definitely have some good products and great flour.
Those are the things that, are on our pathway right now is, expanding our product offerings, getting into some more products with minor cannabinoids as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to actually be focusing a lot on wellness initiatives, both for our customers and for our employees, to try to really lean into this mission a little bit more. We're going to expand our offerings of, we've got a great partnership with Treehouse CBD and carry a wide range of their products. We've had a great relationship with them. We also have other retail locations. We have medical licenses in Pontiac that we are patiently waiting for the city to finally adopt adult use. I say patiently, a little facetiously.
Well,
It's been a 2+ year journey, and the frustrations can continue, but we're really hoping that they are close, because we have 2 licenses right in the downtown area. We really want to be part of the revitalization of that community.
Oh, that's exciting.
We've also supported I'll put a plug in for the Higher Learning Institutes, which is a cannabis education program out of Pontiac that was started by a great guy named Sam Rogers that provides, programs in cultivation, processing, retail, management. And it serves, not exclusively, but largely communities and people of color. So we've sponsored some scholarships there, and we love what they're doing. And, if we are able to get something going in Pontiac, we'd love to support that organization more. And we have a few other retail locations we're looking at, but I think, we're kind of like a lot of other businesses of our size right now, that we really just want to make sure that we are really, really fine tuning our operations and maximizing the potential of the places we have open, and being selective about where we go from here. And really just, as everyone that's in the manufacturing side, the improvements in your grow and your processing lab is a never-ending journey. And and I think we're doing really good now, but we can get better. And we're really want to really solidify our products as because of the size and scale we have to be a craft brand. Basically, we're not going to compete against the big guys and sell $50 ounces all day long. We want to sell craft, top shelf cannabis, and I think we've really come a long way in doing that. And all of our other products coming out of our lab, I think, are in that category as well. So we're really just going to lean into those parts of our market. And as we've said, we really just want to, really work to realize that mission in a way that we haven't maximized up to this point, to bring wellness to the communities that we work with, and to our employees and partners and that type of thing. So that's what we're doing.
Nice. Well, we wish you much continued success.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for breaking down those stigmas and bringing education, to the community.
Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to be
important.
here and love being part of this organization. So
Thank you. Thank you both for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So next we're going to switch over to our shout out. Our ancillary company, Nate Russell, is from Custom Pack Co.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Nate Russell here representing Custom Pack Co in the lab. And I want to tell you a little bit about what we got going on up here in Kalkaska. I'm standing here in our warehouse right next to our co-packing and processing facility. And let me tell you, we consider ourselves a true one-stop shop for cultivators and brands who are looking to augment their footprint here in Michigan. So first and foremost, we sell packaging. Boxes, got it. Jars, got it. In-house labels, printed. Mylar bags, no prob. Tubes, come on. On top of that, we got a full design team. We got a full branding staff. So if you need help with your artwork, your design, honing in your brand identity, we can do that too. But after the fact, after the packaging is designed, we'll also co-pack and process your product. Once that's done, we'll take photos of it, we'll upload it to LeafLink. Once that's done, we'll take the orders as they come in and distribute products out. All you need to worry about is growing fire product. Hit us up, Custom Paco in the Lab, we're your one-stop shop.
All right, well, that's our show for today. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Thank you, Trent and Dr. Rob, for joining us again from the WellFlower. Check out their products. They've got some great deals out there and nice strains.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.